Hi and welcome to the Geek Legion of Doom. This is a superhero movie review and I'll be having a look at the movie Super CAPERS today. So Super CAPERS, this is a superhero comedy film, very much on the lines of the sort of Naked Gun type sort of movies, and also there's actually a superhero one called Superhero Movie, so it's a little bit like that, but for kids. Well, that's kind of what I think it's meant to be going for. This tells the tale of a kind of wannabe superhero called Ed Gruberman, and he basically sort of ends up thinking he's stopping some sort of mugging, and tries to get sued by the guy he attacked, and then he ends up sort of getting sent to this sort of superhero academy called the Super CAPERS, which is the name of this team. And there he kind of meets a variety of other sort of superheroes with sort of weird and wonderful powers, and ends up sort of discovering there's sort of bad guys on the loose and trying to stop them, and having this sort of bit of a kind of a plot with a kind of hidden bad guy and things like that. Well, I won't spoil for you because I'm sure you're on the edge of your seats about who that is. So, a relatively minimal plot. So, two things that really want to focus with this film is the actual comedy itself. So the actual comedy itself is very, very juvenile. This is to me, when I was watching it, this is a superhero comedy for kids. So if you've seen The Naked Gun, you've seen the actual comedy spoof superhero movie, if you can imagine that dialed down for sort of a kiddie type humour, this is kind of it. So if you've got kids and you want to sort of watch them a relatively unoffensive comedy film, this might be for them. There's lots of sort of little fart jokes and things like that, and a very sort of basic visual sort of humour. When people swear, they're going ding and things like that. It's just there's no real sort of belly laughs in this. The actual humour is I don't think an adult will be laughing once in the actual jokes. However, the interesting thing that is sort of adjacent to that really is there's a lot of pop culture geek nods in this. But the thing is, they're actually sort of stuff of older films, which I think will go over kids' heads. So I'm not really sure who this film is actually aimed at. So what I mean by this is, most notably probably Star Wars. There's quite a lot of Star Wars references in this, particularly Return of the Jedi. Back to the Future is probably the second one. But you've also got stuff like Predator, Terminator, The Matrix. So a lot of these sort of 80s, 90s, even 70s, well, no, kind of. It's so I don't know if it's who it's aiming for, because if it's aiming for kids, I think a lot of these pop references are just going to go over their head, I think, for the most part. But it's aiming for adult. The actual humour itself is just far too juvenile for a kid, for an adult. Sorry, I just don't know who it's aimed at. Now, this is obviously a relatively low budget film, so. There's not much in the way of effects. There is a few bits and bits and pieces here. There's some bad guys who are sort of proper sort of pantomime over the top villains. They actually have quite a good makeup effect on this Minotaur guy who's kind of like the heavy. But there's no real action in the film. There's kind of a little bit of a comedy action scene at the end. But you've just got people running into each other and going bang and things like that. So that's what I mean. And kind of it almost reminds me of. If you can imagine the sort of the Road Run, the sort of Daffy Duck cartoons, that's the sort of humour that's in this film. So if you can imagine that transferred to a live action film about superheroes with some pop culture references, you pretty much got this film sewed up. So I quite like spotting some of these pop culture references, because that was quite fun. But that's really the only enjoyment I got out of this. For a comedy, it wasn't funny. For a superhero film, it wasn't really. To me, it wasn't really respectful of that genre, I have to say. I don't think. It was more of just a kind of a cheap cash in to sort of have these sort of flashy costumes and stuff like that. So if you like a superhero comedy, there's far better ones than this film. The actual story is very derivative, and it's just it's just not a particularly great film. There's the only thing here I'd say is in the pop culture bits. I kind of like some of them, and that was really that's the only thing I can really recommend about this film. So I'm going to give this film a 3 out of 10. Let me know what you think about it, and I'll see you next time. See you later.